Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This podcast is dedicated to helping individuals start and build a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. This show is actually dedicated to helping people confidently and competently offer quality accounting services to get paid what they're worth. In fact, each episode is designed to be both conversational with tips and tricks to help you apply principles that are specific to your business related to marketing, sales, pricing, onboarding, a variety of things to help you actually run your business efficiently and profitably. With that in mind, we invite guests to the show to actually share advice, tips, and tricks that they've experienced in their businesses to help you actually run yours more efficiently and profitably. Now, and with today, what we have is basically a guest that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. I myself am Roger Knecht. I am president of Universal Accounting Center, and I am your host. I've been working with accounting professionals now for more than 20 years, helping them start and build successful accounting businesses around the world. And as I've done so, I've helped people not only build their businesses that they've dreamt to have, building relationships with their clients that they hope to have, but I've made friends along the way, and I'm excited to share some of those experiences. And as my guest today, I have Laura Elkaslassy. She is a certified profit first professional. Laura's passion is enabling business owners to build sustainable businesses through learning how to generate profit, structuring systems for financial success, and earning the incomes they deserve. She first started using the term profit pioneer back in the early 2016, almost said 1900s, my heavens. And as a way to eloquently define the broad spectrum of services that she provided to her clients, chose the term profit pioneer. Now, she was previously assessed for her professional leadership archetype and the results that she was getting as a pioneer seeker, which in summary has attributes of trying things first, looking outside of the norm, and fiercely being adventurous and seeing gifts and strengths in others. All this is true to her nature when it comes to being in business and accounting. Now, exploring and implementing profit first, not only in her business, but for her clients, she has seen a tremendous growth and improved management and inspirational innovations with her clients. It is because of this that Laura has wanted to see Profit First move and expand into Australia. As a result, today, Laura is actually the CEO of Profit First Professionals Australia, leading the memberships of Profit First to greater success to their clients and nurturing the Profit First community down under. So first of all, Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is going to be fun. So I've spoken to many profit first professionals, myself being one of them. And so I'm quite familiar with the community, and I'm excited to share that with our listeners today. But I really want to back up a little bit and start with a little bit of your background and experience and really get into a few things about you. So let me begin by, first of all, bringing up that you're a serial entrepreneur. So I want to go back to really before you started and had your first business. Tell us about what drew you to want to start your first company.
Absolutely. I have to really think back. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
The biggest thing for it has. The biggest thing for me was that I was working in corporate, and then I moved to small family business as an employee, and I just saw how difficult it was for the business owner to run the business, and they weren't doing the improvements that I could see would happen. And I also realized I wasn't the best employee because I wanted to almost run my own business at that stage. And I decided, you know what, it's about time. And so I did. I took the leap, and I first started with my first business doing bookkeeping and some, advisory on a smaller scale. And then that grew into now 4 different businesses. I like to keep busy, but they all are intertwined and make a lot of sense together.
So let's start with the bookkeeping business. First of all, what was the name of the company?
Adroit Business Solutions.
Adroit Business Solutions. And your purpose in starting the bookkeeping business was simply to do bookkeeping services for your clients?
So it was what I saw as an opportunity to get started in business with a skill that I had, with the thought of actually then growing it into more of the advisory consulting piece. But primarily when I first started, I was a sole, business owner offering bookkeeping services. Yeah.
I love it. Now, as you started to work with your clients, and this is obviously way back when, we're dating both of ourselves, But as you started to work with your business clients, what struck you as being different than you expected? Here you are offering bookkeeping services, working with business owners. What surprised you about the clients you were working with that you didn't expect as you were working with other business owners?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the biggest surprise for me was actually realizing that these people that actually had very successful businesses and had lots of experience and were great at what they did had no understanding of what was happening in their business. And through the bookkeeping, I actually felt really reactive. I was, constantly telling them what had happened
Mm-hmm.
and, they're like, oh, wow, that happened, but it's not helping them now and nothing was changing. And so I found that actually really frustrating.
So, it's very common in that part of the discussion to realize that as accounting professionals, we can do so much more than just provide the historical information. They've already experienced it as business owners. We're kind of telling them the obvious. They remember it and they know this. What we're trying to do is get more timely in our information and more purposeful in what it is we're giving them so that they can make more informed business decisions. So I guess one of the questions I would really want to know is, where did you all of a sudden see that you could do so much more than just bookkeeping for the clients that you were working with?
Yeah, so it was actually around the conversations that I was having as part of, building that relationship with the business owners. And through those discussions, I was pulling on my own experience because I've lived in multiple countries, running businesses from multiple countries. And, I've experienced the ups and downs and that sort of thing. So it was through those conversations that I realized that there's so much more that we can be doing in terms of, just highlighting particular areas when it comes to, the profitability of their business and making really small tweaks that can make such a difference to the running of their lives, not just their businesses.
So I'm going to ask a question now that I think your response is going to be one similar to my own. And it's this realization that all of a sudden that you, through the experiences that you've just shared, actually have something to give these business owners that might be helpful as they're running their business. In other words, rather than just performing tasks and preparing the financial reports, there are questions you could be asking to provide a different perspective to your clients. And more importantly, they may actually be interested in what you have to say, what advice you might have to bring to the conversation. All of a sudden, there's this moment, at least I had it, where there was this epiphany of, oh my heavens, my experience, my opinion, my expertise matters, and my clients could benefit from it, and in fact, may be willing to pay for it. Do you remember when that transition happened for you?
Yeah, I did. And it was a mixture of feeling frustrated at doing the tasks and it always being, reactive and compliance based and deadline based, but not actually giving the value to the client. And it was through these conversations that I suddenly realized, not only was it the education, but mainly the experience that I'd had myself in my own business that I'm like, wow, okay, if we just position these conversations a bit differently and if we talk about the holistic view and not try and separate business from the person or from their personal life or from their goals and aspirations and dreams and actually approach it from that point of view, the difference that would make to their life would be phenomenal. And that was such a humbling and exciting moment all at once.
So, when you were realizing this in your business, I'm assuming that you saw that not only you could provide additional value to the clients you were working with, but at the same time, I'm assuming that you also saw that this was an additional revenue stream that would enable you to actually generate additional revenue from the clients you're already serving. In other words, increase the average revenue per customer, per client. What I want to at least understand, what I'd like to have you maybe share is, when did you realize that what you were able to provide actually had a monetary value and you could charge for it?
It actually took probably about 6 months for me to come to the realization that I was actually providing this service for free,
Uh-huh.
which I think we've all been there.
Yep.
And it was through having a conversation with a client where he's just like, I don't feel right just having these conversations anymore. You realize you should be charging for this. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Yes, you're right. And so then when I stepped back from that and looked at the client base, what I've been doing, what the potential was for the different revenue streams, as well as, as you said, the average increase in revenue per client. It actually blew my mind. And I'm like, why have I not done this sooner?
Well, if you're similar to myself, one of the things that happens is you all of a sudden have this epiphany, if I could use that word again, where you all of a sudden realize that what you're doing is really helping the clients. They're benefiting from this. This is something that in reality others would pay for. And I think my epiphany was at least related to the concept of, if you underpromise and overdeliver, your customers will be happier and pleased with the fees you're charging. But there comes a point where you all of a sudden start to overdeliver so much that there's a discrepancy between what they're paying and what they're receiving. And I need to close that gap. It's fine to overdeliver, but now let's start getting paid for a lot of the services that we're providing. And that epiphany for me, and like you said, when the client actually says, by the way, you ought to be charging for this, was this realization, if not permission, to say, I guess I need to start figuring out how I'm going to package and price this additional service. And so that was kind of a transition for me. Is that something similar for you? Did you have something like that in your experience?
Yeah, I definitely did. At the same time, I also realized that I didn't want to be doing the bookkeeping, and that was time for me to step out of that and have someone else come into my business and do that, so that I could really work on my offerings and packagings and pricing for this, more advisory service to really bridge that gap. And the easiest way for me to have someone in there made it clearer on how to scope things. When it was just me, that emotional side comes in, and that, but I've done this, and if I change that now, what's going to happen? And, welcome imposter syndrome around things.
Yes.
And so that's a whole other thing.
It is. And, right, as you grow your business, there are these growing pains you experience, especially when you start to delegate a lot of these clients that you used to do everything for to someone else. And there's this question of, are they going to do the same quality of work? Are they going to be as efficient in time and profitable? But in reality, it frees you up to actually do more of this exciting type thing, which is more of the coaching and advisory type work. And after so many years of experience working with business owners, it's a nice transition to actually get out of the data entry side and the financial reports and get into the business advisory and coaching element. So here's my next question. As you realized you had so much more to offer, as you realized you could actually charge more for this type of consulting or advisory coaching type work, what were you looking for to actually package or bundle your coaching services so that as you charged for this, you could deliver on a month to month to month basis and actually feel you were delivering each and every month that quality of service? What were you looking for to enable you to feel confident about asking for that additional fee and deliver that?
Yeah, so I remember that very clearly. And it was a matter of, I have all of this experience. What is the structure or framework that I can put this in that's going to not be cookie cutter at all, but at least have a clear path for the client to be able to, really hit those goals and make that difference in their business. And that's actually when I started to read all the different books and came across Profit First, because I'm like, there has to be a better way. I hate budgeting. I'll just put that out there. And I really don't like the normal method of cash flow forecasting and that sort of thing, because it still feels quite reactive and within a box. And so then when I found Profit First, I'm like, this makes sense to anyone. And that's when I really dove into that side of things.
So you've brought up Profit First. Obviously, I mentioned it at the very, very beginning. So let's talk about this for a minute. Mike Michalowicz, he's an author. He's written a number of books, one of which is very popular called Profit First. And really, it's a paradigm shift for business owners. Tell me what the not just the book, but what the principle of the book meant for you.
Yeah. So what I loved about the book was that it wasn't actually about the numbers. It was about the mindset and the behavior and, leveraging our psychology as human beings. And this has always been an area of interest for me in my life. And really working with who you are versus against what you do and that sort of thing. And so that was the main thing that really sort of got me in. And if I'm being completely honest, when I read the book, my purpose after that was to implement it in my own business and try and break the system to see, it can't be that good. It can't be that easy to implement and that sort of thing. So that's where I came from after reading the book.
So in the book, we both know that there's this formula that Mike introduces that business owners really latch onto. It's very revolutionary. If in fact it's I think it's business changing, if you will, because it gives, I think, greater purpose towards profit, which is this simple formula of sales minus profit equals expenses, which is a total flip on the more traditional way of looking at finances, which is to say you sell something, you pay your bills, the expenses, and what's left over is the profit. Now we're saying you sell something, you take out the profit you would expect, and what's left over is what you use to pay the expenses. How has that as a formula resonated with your clients?
It made total sense to them. They realized immediately that it had been an afterthought for them, that, maybe if they work hard enough, the profit will come. Or maybe if their revenue increases, then that will happen for them. And so then when they understood this formula, it made that total shift in understanding to be like, well, if I take the profit, I get to decide what that profit can look like. And how does that change the business? And so then that's that reverse engineering of, if you have this money, and you put that profit aside, what's left? What is possible? Do you actually need to spend all the money that's in your bank account? And that was really freeing for my clients.
So what was fascinating for me is, as I've had so many conversations with business owners, it actually was this light bulb moment, an epiphany of, oh my heavens, that's what I thought business was supposed to look like. Now I can see that it can look this way. Can you help me implement it? And this is where the gotcha is. For the business owner, initially, it is this epiphany of sales can be deliberate profits can be deliberate and intentional. And it doesn't have to be this afterthought like you were describing. And they want to experience that. That makes sense. This is how they would like to run their businesses. But it's easier said than done. And that's where you as a profit first professional comes in. How have you, as a profit first professional, seen your clients benefit from applying these principles from the profit first philosophy?
The biggest thing that I saw is that they had a realization around what money was actually theirs. The biggest problem that they came to me about was, I have money in the business, but I don't know what's actually mine, what needs to stay in the business for tax, whether or not my expenses are okay or not. And, having cash profit, what's that? And so when they started to implement profit first, initially there's this pain period that you go through because there's usually a lot of change that needs to happen because expenses are too high, or they're not paying themselves enough, or they've got, tax debt that they need to deal with. But making these small incremental steps to the target percentages that works for their business made them completely change the way they thought about their business, and actually increased the amount of revenue that came in, and therefore what owners pay they could take and what was happening with the profit. And then, going from that survival mode to that thriving mode of, well, I have money now, there's cash flow, I'm not moving my money around and effectively stealing from myself to make these decisions. What do I do now? And that's where I really love to play with my clients is, well, what next? Now that you're out of that survival mode and you're into that thriving mode, what can you do with this money? What is your profit for? Where is your lifestyle? What is happening for you? And they're the conversations that they get really excited about.
I love it. Just that enthusiasm that you're sharing there, that the clients experience. It's one thing to understand the principles. It's another thing to experience the benefit of what those are. And for many of the clients, it's many of the business owners, very life-changing. It brings, I think, an enthusiasm to running the business again that in some cases they've lost. And at the next level, they actually have now the profits to experience and enjoy having a profitable business because it's now a priority in their company. So I think what you're describing is wonderful. So here's my next question about the Profit First experience. What has the Profit First community been like for you as you've adopted this and tried to implement it with your clients there in Australia?
That's a great question. That was actually something that I struggled with initially, meaning the Profit First community internationally was established. The book was well known, but within Australia itself, I was one of the first Profit First professionals here in the country. And some people had heard of the book, some people have heard of what Profit First was, but a lot of them just didn't understand. So it wasn't just me talking to my clients. I felt the real pull to take it out into the community, to really get people, business owners, even if all they do is read the book and try and implement it themselves, that this was changing for businesses, that businesses stopped failing, within their first 3 years of business, and that they actually got the profit that they deserved from, the business that they had. And so it really was about starting conversations with not just my clients, but anyone that I could come across that it was relevant to.
Uh-huh.
And that was a struggle initially because people thought I was a bit crazy. They're like, what is this thing that you're talking about? And yes, I get that it's a formula, but how does this change my life? And so there was an educational piece that needed to happen. And the way that I did that was explain how I did it in my business and the impact that it had for me personally, because then a person can really understand. I can say now that the community within Australia is aware of Profit First. The business communities understand, have heard of what Profit First is, know that there are Profit First professionals, are hearing from other businesses that have implemented it, that it actually works and it's a game changer. So that it's happening. There's still more that the community can learn and achieve themselves. But yeah, it's been fun.
Well, there's two things you brought up there that I'd like to just mention. One is how the message gets conveyed. I can definitely say that as a conversational piece, bringing up to business owners, entrepreneurs, the idea of profit first, making it intentional, deliberate, that there's this formula that is kind of the secret sauce for success. That right there, from a business point of view, my acquiring clients and having business owners interested in my services, Profit First has been an excellent talking point. When you can talk about the variety of things that you can do as an accounting professional, admittedly, the client, the potential client, is most interested in how can you help me be more profitable? And so a conversation about that and offering services that lead to that aim, that really does help you acquire new clients and grow your own accounting business. But regarding the community, you're right. With Australia, this is an international movement of sorts. Mike is very, very passionate about this phrase of eradicating entrepreneurial poverty, and because of that, he's taken this message far and wide. And you're there in Australia. I know Lisa's in Canada. I know Femke's up in Norway, and there's others around the world that are really embracing and taking this message forward. So let me just ask, with regards to Profit First, can you share with us an example of how Profit First has worked for one of your clients?
Absolutely. So one of my clients came to me, and it was my niche that I worked in at the time was the spiritual industry. And there's a belief within that industry that your service you can't really charge for because you're there to help people. And so my client came to me at the time, and she, in her personal life, had a breakup and had a lot of debt and had kids to deal with. And her business had always been a side hustle. And so she actually came to me to grow her business. But the foundations of what it actually looks like to have a sustainable business was looked at through the lens of Profit First. And so through her implementation of Profit First, not only was she able to price correctly and therefore earn the money that she could, but how she then dealt with the money was was a game changer for her. She ended up being able to pay off all of the debt, increasing her revenue fourfold from when we started working together within the first year. She also never got into tax debt with the ATO because she had Profit First set up, and she paid herself so that she could support her children. It was a journey, so it wasn't amazing from the beginning. You have to start somewhere, and as I mentioned earlier, it can be difficult initially because there is a lot of change, and it can feel like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But she really transformed her life from where she was when we first met to where she is now through implementing Profit First.
That is amazing. That is wonderful. I think each business that I've worked with has similarly had these changes. And in my case, it's working with business owners that actually, I think, get re-energized to running their business. It becomes fun and challenge. It's almost a game in some instances. And it's fun to see the light come back in their eyes as they're trying to implement and thus actually experiencing the Profit First phenomenon. So let me just take a quick moment here, and I'm going to break away and do some sponsor mentions, and then I'm going to come back into this conversation. But I have some wonderful things here to share that I'd like everyone to be aware of. The first thing that we want to make everyone aware of is, as part of this episode, there is an offer to actually get a Profit First instant assessment. You can go to the episode description, and what Laura is going to do is make available for you this ability to do a Profit First instant assessment. And in the episode description, click on the link and you'll actually see what it is that she's making available for you. The second is an offer from Universal Accounting Center, and it's getting a free copy of 2 books that all accounting professionals should use, as they offer trusted strategic advisory and coaching services to get paid what they're worth. These basically are 2 additions to every accountant's library that you should all have to provide value to your clients as you're working with them. The first is a book called In the Black. It's 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. It is specifically the things that you need to be working on in the short term, midterm, and long term to make profit a priority. And then the second is a book called Red to Black in 30 Days. It's a small business accountant's guide to quick turnarounds. Literally the how-to guide for accounting professionals to help take your business from being in the red to being in the black. This is intended to actually help with the most common challenge faced by small business owners, which is cash flow management. Once you get your clients from being in the red to being in the black, that's when you're able to then implement effectively these principles from Profit First that we've been discussing. The last that I'd like to point out is information regarding becoming a profit and growth expert. This is intended to actually help complement your Profit First philosophy so that you can literally go out and competently market and sell this service to get the clients you deserve. So learn more about each of these offers by going to the episode description and find out what it is you can do to become a profit expert. Now, with that being said, I have a few questions that I'm excited to ask you here, Laura. The one is what's one piece of advice you would give to a new business owner?
Where do I start with that? One piece of advice? No. So the one piece of advice would be dream big. And what I mean by that is that when we start our business, we come at it generally from a scarcity point of view, that we need to make the money, we can't take from it, we have to reinvest in it, churn, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Instead, take a moment to really know your why. What is the purpose of your business? How is it working for you? And then all of the other implementations you can make some really good decisions about.
I love it. Now, we've been talking a lot about the client, other business owners, what it is that they need to know and can do in their business. But for you, what are you passionate about?
I love, in terms of business, I love impact, being able to make impact. So, and what I mean by that is for my own business and through implementing Profit First myself, from my profit account each quarter, I love to give back. And so the whole idea of having my business was not only to provide for my family, but to also be able to give back to causes that I really, hold close to my heart. And so that's where my passion comes in. That's where my drive comes in. And that's where I like to try and make my little difference in the world.
Very good. It's nice to have a give back mentality. I think once you get to that point on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you get to that pinnacle state where you actually do want to give back and make a difference and leave a legacy of sorts. So I like how you shared that, because it's nice to have intertwined with our purpose a way of helping those around us. So that's well said. Now, the next thing is, I think, more of a more casual question for you, but it's basically, do you have like a mantra or a quote, something that you use in business to keep you focused and grounded?
It does change. And I find that I have quarterly cycles where one of the biggest things that I do is have a word or a mantra, depending on what it is that I'm focusing on in that quarter. And the biggest thing for me is that, money is the vehicle, but you are the driver.
Money is the vehicle, but you are the driver. I like that. It's an analogy I can visually see. So that's very good.
Yeah, it makes such a difference when you look at whatever decision you're making from that mindset and with that visual. The possibilities are endless.
So with the next one, it's regarding mentors. Is there someone in your life that you can think of, perhaps even a parent or someone in your youth, that was a mentor to you? If so, whom and why? What did you learn from them?
I haven't been asked that question in such a long time. My dad actually was. He was, when we were growing up, we didn't have money. And he taught us how to get out into the world in whatever way it looks to us. So not just go and get a job, to be able to provide for the family, but that wealth creation mindset. Seeing him go from where he was to where they are now made such an impact in my life. And it really comes back to him. It's been a while since I've told him, so now I'm going to go back and tell him. So thank you.
You are very welcome. My father has passed, so it's been a few years since I've had the opportunity to speak with him. But likewise, my father is very much a part of my daily life. I happen to have a belt buckle that I wear nearly daily that reminds me of my father, and it has a very significant part in my life, as it reminds me of some of the things that he ground into me as being very fundamental to making decisions and life. And yeah, I can relate to that. My father was very much an influential part in who I am and how I think and act. So that's well said. With that, here's my next question for you. My wife and I, we've traveled quite a bit and done a lot of things, but I cannot say I've been to Australia. So if I were to come to Australia, what would you suggest I do? Where should I go? And what should I eat?
Oh, okay. Well, the world's your oyster when you come to Australia. We have such a melting pot of different cultures. I'm located in Melbourne,
Okay.
and I love Melbourne if you want to come for amazing coffee, interesting laneways and artwork, and people are great. If you're wanting the beach and relaxation, then go up north to northern Queensland and have some amazing seafood and enjoy the laid back lifestyle.
Wonderful. I will take that to heart, because one day I will be there and I will remember this. Here's my next question. What are you thankful for?
I am thankful for my family and the support network that I have. If I didn't have the support that I do have, then none of this would be possible.
Very good. It's nice to know you've got people behind you that support you, believe in you. It gives you a little bit of an added advantage, because you know you're not alone, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's the last thing that I have before we kind of wrap things up. What is it about your company that you feel you wish your customers better understood about what you're trying to do for them? What is it that you really think makes you unique?
I believe that in everything that I do and that the company does, it comes back to quantum physics, and that is the energy. The energy field and the way that we, acknowledge our gratefulness, the way that, our words and our intentions are used is so important. And the way that we work with our clients is from the energetic level as well as the practical, because you can't have one without the other.
I love it. There's a lot to be said by the aura and the power that we each emanate. All of a sudden, what happens is we influence not only those around us, but we also gravitate towards us those same like energies. And I really believe that if we're in the right mindset, not only is there an abundance of what we need in order to thrive, but at the same time, we can reciprocate that and help so many other people in that same way. So I like how you described that. Thank you. But let me do this before I actually share the summary, and that's just point out again the sponsors that we had for today's episode. The first thing I want you to do is go to the episode description and there take advantage of this opportunity to get a copy, or not a copy, but take a part in the Profit First Instant Assessment. I think you'll be very impressed by it and what it has to offer. You can also get the copies of the books In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable, and Red to Black, in 30 Days, a small business accountant's guide to quick turnarounds. It's the how-to guide for accounting professionals to help with cash flow management. And then lastly, it's that of becoming a profit and growth expert. So with all this in mind, what I want to do is just point out a few of the highlights that I heard from today's conversation. And the first is being a bookkeeper can be very fulfilling and you can really make a difference with your clients. But there does come a time where all of a sudden, with your experience and with all of your background, there is an opportunity for you to do so much more, particularly get into advisory and coaching services, such that you're able to now work with your clients and do more than just provide the financial reports, which is significant, but it's also then complementing what you're doing with more consultative or advisory work so that you can be a business coach for your clients. And in doing so, entertain the idea of becoming a profit first professional. For Laura, she shared how this was something that really helped her not only impact her clients more, but actually have a turnkey process to implement with the clients and literally see results in their business as they made profit a priority. And at the same time, then started to actually benefit from their business's success. Now, as this relationship changed with her clients, not only did she get paid more, but Laura was able to demonstrate how her clients also bettered their businesses. Now, the other thing that I thought that was very, very helpful with Laura is she demonstrated how this give back mentality can actually be a good motivation, a why that you can have in your business, that it's more than just making money. It's literally making a difference and helping business owners thrive in their business. And as they do so, you'll in turn benefit yourself and have more work to do in your own company. The referrals start coming, and all of a sudden, as a business, you're thriving as well. So with that being said, I'm grateful for having Laura on the show today. I think the message that we're sharing is something that the accounting profession needs to hear. There's so much more that we can be doing as we work with our clients to help them take the information we're providing in the financial reports and be more than just compliant, but literally use that information to make more informed business decisions and ultimately make profit a priority and put profit first. What we've done today is literally taken and applied these principles so that we can see how they work in business. So I invite you to listen to our episodes, subscribe to the podcast, and for more information on how you can use these principles and others in your business, please visit us at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal.